Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the One Step Better podcast. I'm Mike Schaefer, and with me, of course, is Matt Patrick. Really excited that you're listening today. Got some good content to talk about. Hopefully, it's going to encourage you and help you get one step better in your daily life and running an organization, or maybe in your leadership roles, wherever that may be. And so, Matt, to get started today, we're going to take it back to a lighter subject for our intro question. I know that we had some pretty intense stuff last time. And so,
if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
We're getting out of the philosophy and more to a fun question today. If you had an extra hour of free time every single day, right? Just that, I don't even know what the question part is. That I just start to salivate at. If you had an extra hour of free time every single day, how would you use it? It's a little bit difficult because if it was just, hey, you had an extra hour of free time,
I probably would let it disappear.
thing.
We're talking about the topic of time management. It'd probably just disappear. If I could just hang out with my kids and they actually really wanted to hang out with me, I would like that part. They're at the age they don't really want to do that anymore. But yeah, if I could just hang out with them and play a game, like I think I'd love to play like a card game or a board game or something. It'd be fun. But that doesn't ever happen. We're kind of always running around.
I think if I just had an extra hour of time, not just every day, but just an extra hour of time in like the week, I think I would like to just go take my bed to the beach and take a nap.
Oh,
for
so
an
we can
hour.
go. We're able to like transport ourselves.
And there's
anywhere in
no
the world.
rules around this question.
Oh wow, I might want a really good meal in Italy again. That was pretty good. If I can go anywhere,
Yeah, but
if I could teleport,
if it was an hour a day, that's a different story because there's only so many naps I could take at the beach before
I don't know.
it gets a little bit.
I could take an hour nap a day. Happy nappy time.
Yeah, but then I would start to feel guilty, like I'm wasting that hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's.
I felt like when you asked the question, like, well, maybe I should try to be learning something in that hour. And like, yeah, I really don't want to do anything. So
I'm going to read 3 books in that 1 hour.
every hour I'm going to read.
Yeah. I wish that was true.
I mean, what do you do now is, what do you do when you have some free time now? I like to relax a little bit and, I do read a book or hang out with my kids or play basketball with them or whatever it is. Just kind of, enjoy some free time.
Yeah. I think if the free time would be, I would probably spend a few minutes of just sitting and breathing, like relaxing, like not doing anything.
So pretty much sit on your ass and do nothing.
I would spend some time doing that. Yeah.
I like that too.
The rest of the time I would probably fill with some type of household project, whether it's doing yard work.
So you're going to do work in your 1 hour of free time?
Yeah, but I enjoy that stuff. That's fun. Right now I'm trying to build a mantle for our fireplace. And so,
like with
I'd be able to
woodworking
finish
tools?
that up. Yeah, like real. I'm a real boy.
You have tools and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Table saw? Miter saw?
I don't have a table saw. That's next on. I don't need a table saw.
Miter saw?
I do have a miter saw. Yeah.
Then you're good.
Yeah.
Miter saw, table saw, kind of
Jigsaw, skill saw.
I mean, you are
chop
like a real
saw.
boy.
I know, right?
Watch out.
I enjoy doing that stuff though. Go cut down some trees, make the
Thinking of
kids take them to
Pinocchio
the
now,
street.
so I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, me too. As soon as I said that, I was like, oh, that's Pinocchio.
I'm a real boy.
I'm a real boy. Yeah. Well, we are going to talk about time today. I think it's been said multiple times that a leader's greatest asset is time. It is the one thing that everybody has the same amount of. It doesn't matter who you are. You all have 24 hours in a day, and how you use it really does matter. The thing about time is that you can't save it. You're going to spend it some way. And you can't go put it in your pocket and then, tomorrow I'm going to have 25 hours because I didn't use that extra hour I was taking a nap. And so everybody's kind of on an equal playing field when it comes to time. But time is, especially for leaders, time can start to go into a bunch of different directions, some of which is valuable, some of which is not so valuable. So today we're going to talk about time, mainly because leaders have a tendency to spend time doing what they want to do when they want to do it, but they also have a tendency to give away their time doing things that they should never be doing, or just daily interruptions that come in. So we're going to talk through some of the pitfalls that we've experienced over time, and hopefully share some insight that may be helpful for some of the folks that are listening today. So Matt, whenever you start your day, I know we both live kind of somewhat on calendars.
Yep.
And everything is planned out. When you start your day, where do you start actually thinking about where your daily schedule, what your daily schedule looks like?
This is an area I've done better with over the years. I do live off my calendar. I try to make sure I book appointments in blocks. I limit when I want to take appointments and when I don't. But at the same time, I start thinking about my next day's calendar the night before I go to bed, make sure I understand what my day's going to look like, what kind of task list do I have to get done. And I kind of have an evolving task list that never ends. But what I find is I'm trying to develop pockets of time to do work.
Do you try to block out or plan every minute of your day?
No, when I do it best, I do a better job of blocking out time to get work done. But I just block out my events, and I know that I have to fill in around it. That has a tendency to lead to a lot of nights working. So this is something that we do that probably is I don't do as good a job as I should, and that's why we've talked about time management before. Blocking out time, setting priorities, getting stuff done. I have a tendency to during my day, I'm not in control of my time as much as I wish I was. And so I end up kind of living by helping everybody else during the day and then getting my work done at night or blocks of time thereof. I probably should do a better job of saying, hey, I'm not available for these times and actually work on getting some stuff done there. I just don't feel like I have enough. I won't have enough time doing that anyway to get anything done.
It doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't really make a difference. Correct.
Do you find that when you don't plan your time, it gets away from you?
Oh yeah, of course. That's like every employee we have, probably the same way. If you gave them one task to do this week and that's all they knew they had was going to happen, they would spend the whole amount of time doing that one task. Or if you said you had 1 hour to do that and it was, you have 15 more tasks to get done today, they would get all those tasks done today. Your time expands to meet the tasks you have in front of you. I think it is very important that you plan your days out in order to get the most efficiency out. I just don't do a good job of doing it. I know what I'm supposed to do. Like I'm supposed to eat good and exercise. I don't do those things either. But it's the same thing with managing your time.
I've seen and heard about, and it was talked about in the Vistage group one day, different time management systems like, blocking time where you're going to spend an hour dedicated to a task, and then you got 15 minutes to get up and walk around or do nothing, and then you got an hour, that type of stuff. Have you ever tried any of those like formal time systems?
I used Get Things Done. David Allen, he wrote a book on Get Things Done. And it was how you prioritize your work. And it's really awesome. And it's idea of working off of a clean email every day, which you do and I don't do. And handling email just one time. You have one of 4 ways to handle every email that comes in. That's a book. It's been 10 plus years since I read that book, but it was, it's very helpful for me to understand kind of the idea of some time management. It's a great book in time management. I'm so easily distracted. So even a plan that I want to try to use, I will implement it and then get distracted from it so fast that I've found in my world is I have a very structured to-do list that I work off of. I have a very structured task calendar where I have meetings that are always scheduled on certain, like I only do internal meetings on Mondays. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays are my meeting times. I only have from 10 to 3 that I do meetings. Friday, I try not to set any meetings, but if I have something like an emergency meeting, they'll come up, or personal stuff. Those come up on Fridays. That's it. That's all I do.
We made that change however long ago where we really set every internal meeting on Mondays. Have you liked doing like because it's back to back to back to back to back. Do you like that?
I don't know. It is super. Mondays suck. I hate. It's kind of it's Patrick Lencioni's book, Death by Meetings. In my world, I'm in meetings from the time I get here that day almost to the time I leave. I think you're similar. Mm-hmm. It's easy to not be prepared for those meetings because you're not mentally prepared for all those meetings day to day. And over time, I feel like there's some of them that are repetitive. We probably don't need the frequency that we have in some of them. I meet with all my leaders basically on Mondays. I meet with our leadership team on every other Monday. It just seems to be a little bit repetitive. What about you?
I enjoy having all of my meetings on Monday. I've enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Mondays it's a grind because it is. Any given Monday, I'm going to have at least 5 meetings, and they're all helpful. They're good, and it's good it's good meetings to be a part of. They're not. I don't ever feel like they're a waste of time.
Oh, the ones I'm in with you.
I only lead a handful of those meetings though. So I'm just joining in and getting updates from other people or whatever. And I do enjoy it. I like that I don't have meetings drag on throughout the week. I find that it, like you said, it is easy to not be as prepared for those because you don't have as much time, on the front end of it. So I have to plan better to actually get ready for those meetings way before Monday. But I like that there's 15 to 30 minutes or so between meetings in any given time. And I like those pockets of time because I can go back to email or support tickets or Slack or whatever and do some quick responses. It helps me balance out meeting versus, emails and just the normal daily stuff. And so I don't have, where normal day, Tuesday through Friday, I could sit in front of a computer and it's easy for me to get distracted and get sidetracked by this different project that I didn't really plan on doing today. Mondays, that's not possible because the calendar is more strict.
It's the same thing for me. I do notice very often that when I do have a meeting full day, that I'm not checking email 400 times a day. I'm not checking my Slack 400 times a day. I don't get distracted by the projects I can't get done. It keeps me very much on task, which is why I think it's so important for us to really plan our calendars better. When I'm looking at my own time management problems I have, it's interruption based. It's so people pop in my door and ask me a question. I am a terrible person about saying no because I don't want to hold anybody up and getting their work done. I'll let my own work suffer in theory. I don't block enough time for strategic thinking, and that's an area that I need to improve upon. We do a good job of doing strategic thinking structured as a firm, but my own strategic thinking, I should be leaving more time available for ideas that I haven't had a chance to fester on enough. It could be pricing or it could be performance or technology we're looking into or whatever. I should be blocking more time for those things. But I end up getting distracted by the day-to-day, which is, I literally paid a bill yesterday, which I don't usually do. But I paid a bill yesterday and I, worked on a tech support issue that we're doing. And next thing I know, I've lost half a day. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't productive in that time. It was stuff that had to get done. And it probably only was going to get done by me for the tech support, but the bill thing I could have passed on.
It wasn't as urgent.
Correct. And next thing I know, I'm like, God, I've done a bunch of junk today and I should have done this. The reality of it is when I'm not here and I'm not in front of my machine, I do a good job of delegating that stuff out and I don't worry about it. But when I'm in front of it, I'm like, well, I'll just do it. By the time I delegate, I could just done it. Yeah. I'm like, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. But I do that all the time.
That's interesting. I find that good intentions don't equal good planning. From a time management perspective,
I intend to eat good.
Well,
then I go to grab a Chick-fil-A because it's really good.
And we talk about it internally a lot. My intention is I'm going to let my team handle their own problems and really only bring me in if it's a big enough deal. But I hear, because where my office is, I can hear, Becky's on the phone with a client and I can hear the issue. I already know exactly what the issue is. And I know that Becky that'd be her first time seeing it or hearing it. And I know that because of my experience, I've done that and and so I can easily just, hey, Becky, here's your answer. Go fix it. And that takes me, I have to stop what I'm doing to go out there, say, hey, Becky, I overheard your conversation. This is the issue. This is how you fix it. You're good now. And then go back and figure out, pick up where I left off, all those things.
It's the same problem I run into. And I run into the same problem with email. So I will finally get copied on an email that it's gone back and forth 3 or 4 times. I have not been involved in, nor do I need to be involved in. It's getting resolved. They've copied me now, and now I've gotten myself invested in this. It could be a customer service issue. It could be a tech support problem. Next thing I know, I have grabbed that when I should not have even gotten involved. And I should just go, we're on it. Okay, great. And I should just let it go.
Or just delete.
But I don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's my own frustration. I frustrate myself all the time. Like, why did I respond to this? Why did I respond to this email?
One of the things that I think you struggle with that
I'm banging my head against the.
we'll just have the conversation on
Okay. What did I struggle
recorded,
with,
right?
Mike? What did I struggle with, Mike?
Here is the list. No, one of the things that, and I think you would agree with this, the
I'll
thing
turn
that you
around and
struggle
get
with
my whooping.
is whenever somebody loops you into something, you can't ignore it.
I struggle.
You can't hit delete. You can't just, you know what, somebody else has got it. I'm not even going to respond. Every time you get copied on something or something comes in, it seems like you have that. You have to. I got to, and it is. It can be sometimes it's just, hey, we're on it. We'll figure it out or whatever. Other times it's, hey, can you do X, Y, Z or whatever. You can't just ignore that.
I struggle with it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Mandy would say the same thing is she's talking to somebody, a kid in our house, and I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation.
And you're jumping in.
What are y'all talking about? No, what are y'all talking about? Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. No, I need to know. Like it's ingrained in me. I have to know what the hell they're talking about. Why do I care? I don't know.
It's that
just
FOMO.
like nothing.
It's the fear of missing out.
I don't know. I don't know
on.
why I care so. It drives me crazy. I afterwards I'm going, why did I care? I got frustrated that I didn't find out what they're talking about. And Mandy's the worst because she like just smirks me and goes, you don't need to know.
Yeah.
She knows it drives me crazy. So she's just giving me a hard time. And it's the worst. And so it's the same thing. I struggle with it all the time. I'm jumping in and Bridget DiCello, who used to be my business coach, we talked about this a lot, which is she always called it the barrel of monkeys. And she goes, just because there's a monkey in the room doesn't mean you have to grab it. And she actually bought me a jar of a barrel of monkeys, and I have a barrel of monkeys in my office. And it was the idea of just because somebody brings a monkey to your desk doesn't mean you have to grab it. Hand them back that monkey and let them go take it to their own place. And I struggle with it still. I've been working with Bridget. I worked with Bridget for 10 years, and it was probably 10 years ago. It was not something she improved upon my abilities. She did a lot for me.
That was a you issue, not a her issue, for sure.
Bridget did a great job helping me, but that was not one that I struggled with.
I think it was.
That I fixed anyway.
I think it was like the Harvard Business Review had a famous comic in like the 70s or something like that, where it's a illustration of everybody has a monkey on their back, and when I take my problem to you, that monkey climbs off my back and onto your back, and now you have two monkeys on your back, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And talking about you got to learn.
I grab
to say
a lot of those monkeys.
Yeah, you got a bunch of monkeys on your back. And the big thing that I think it's important to point out here is that as a leader, there are certain monkeys that you have to carry on your back, and there are other monkeys that as soon as they get on your back, it's going to be.
Remember, monkeys can't swim.
That's.
Remember,
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
Yeah, but it makes sense though. Think about it. Monkeys on your back, and you're in water, you're going to drown, and so you got to make sure you're not getting your stuff done because the monkeys are on your back.
And I see it a lot of times as you're taking issues on your plate that have no business being on your plate, and as soon as you do that, and what I've learned over time is I am robbing my team the ability to problem solve that. And that is hurting them long term. I stopped because Casey on my team does a phenomenal job of saying, Mike,
yes, lots better than you, Mike.
Get out. That's in essence what Mike, go away, because for a long time I would see a ticket come in that was I could solve this in 3 sentences and it's done, and I would pull it up and
sometimes it feels good to be the expert.
I can see. We'll talk about that. I could see that she's on the ticket. So we can see that I have the ticket open and she has the ticket open. And she can see that too. And as soon as that happens, I'll get a Slack message from her, get off my ticket.
Yeah.
Because she knows that I have a tendency to jump in. And I appreciate that so much about her.
Well, it's the same thing we just said to me. Is I appreciate when you say, hey, we got this. Don't get involved.
Yeah.
You do a good job with that. Not all of our leaders do that. Some of them, I think, want to hand me the monkey.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like they do. I know a couple of them do, and that's okay. I get it. But it's, I really want you to try to battle that monkey yourself first. And if you need my help again, come back out. But let's try.
But from a leadership perspective, that falls on you to say.
Correct.
No.
I know.
And those are two important letters.
N-O. But my issue there is it's the constant need for me to want to not let me be a bottleneck and I want to make us efficient. So if it's like, hey, just like in theory, if a staff person knew the answer and a manager didn't know the answer, I want the staff person to jump in and grab it too. That's that we're going to help each other out. But at what point is help not really helping?
Yeah.
That's the hard
It's
part.
enabling.
Yep.
That's I think that's the balance you have to strike.
Yep.
Is this problem big enough that I need to jump in and fix it? Is the consequences if I don't large enough that it's actually going to be significant? And if not, I got to be okay saying no, letting them fumble through, even if that means they're not going to do it, because they're not, especially in the learning process, they're not going to do it as well as you. They're not going to do it as quick as you. They don't, and that's just normal.
Yep.
But over time, that's what's going to develop our team to be able to
Absolutely
respond
every
to
single
those
time,
things.
and every time we've done it, and over the years I've done a better job with this, and I go through peaks and valleys, and it depends on people, and you build up trust, and then you have a new person, you don't have as much trust in them, and then you start trusting them, they don't handle it well, you grab stuff. It's an evolution, but the idea behind it is that every time you can hand something off as a leader to another person on your team, and they can have the opportunity to show you what they can do, you're going to give them more responsibilities, but also that's one less thing that you have to do in the future.
Yeah.
Now, so it's such you have to think of all your time as an investment in others. And so that investment needs to be saying no, because that allows them to learn.
Yeah. What I wrote down is it's the hero syndrome. This is one of the things I struggle with. You mentioned it a second ago. It feels really, really good to have the answers. It feels really, really good to jump into a situation and fix it. And it's right, it's good. There is something for me that is, and I think this is true for most people, that is extremely rewarding about being the man, being the guy that can come up to any
Or
issue.
the woman.
Sure, but I'm a dude, so it can come up to any issue, and within a short amount of time, it's fixed. It's good.
Right.
We're moving forward. There's something rewarding about that feeling. All of the chemicals are firing off in your brain to say, "Ooh, this is good. This is good. This is good." But that comes at the detriment of team development a lot of times.
Yeah. It's a difference between being the hero and being a helper. And there's a fine line probably there. And when that you want to help others, and it's perfectly fine to help others, but that help and enabling and hero are all they're pretty close cousins there.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're knowing what you're trying to do.
You don't cross the line.
Yeah, it's tough.
Boundaries by Henry Cloud is a book that I read that talks a lot about this. There's a book or a chapter in that book. And I think he may even wrote a completely separate book about this, but it's Boundaries at Work is the chapter. And it talks about how if you have a coworker that is always coming to you last minute or whatever it is, and it's emergency, I need you to fix this problem.
It's the monkey on their back wanting to give it to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to learn to say no, because ultimately that's pushing back against just because you haven't, you've heard me say this, just because you have an emergency doesn't mean I have an emergency. And I'm not going to automatically assume that I don't need you to automatically assume I'm going to take your emergency away. If it is really an emergency and it has to get done, then yeah, I'll help with that. But if it's poor planning on your part, or you didn't have the foresight to see something and you should have, then you need to fail a little bit here, because I need you to feel that sting.
Yep.
Again, you have to balance out what's the consequences, that type of stuff. But it's a really good chapter in that book.
What's a good tactful way to do that? I mean, you obviously want to show some empathy there and understand that, and explain the situation to them. So I'll say, here's a situation I have. Let's say it's a manager comes to me and has a tax problem, and I look at this and go, this is something they should work out. I can enter this right now. Simple.
Yeah.
5-second answer.
Here's how I've had this conversation. It's really simple. Hey, you know what? That's a really good problem that you got yourself into. I know that you're smart enough and capable enough to figure this one out, because I know the answer, but I want you to spend a little bit more time digging into this, because I know that you have the skills to figure that one out.
Yep.
And that's it. Because
that probably comes up a lot in your world because of you're used to tech, right?
Yeah.
And I have this happen a lot during tax season. This is one I get a lot during tax. It's hey, I had this situation. We had a partner come or go, or we had this new restructuring thing, or whatever it is. And I go, that's great. Now
you have to be able to triage that to say, all right, this is based on the person that's asking that question, their experience, their level of understanding, and the resources they already have available to them to figure out the problem. Is this something that they're going to take 30 minutes figuring out or 30 hours figuring out?
Correct.
If it's something that should realistically take them a little bit of time, then, hey, I need you to go look into that a little bit.
Yep.
and try to figure that out, because I think you can do it on your own.
Yep.
If it's something that's going to be, hey, you know what, that is over their head. They're over their skis here. Yeah, jump in on that. That's a point in time to help.
And I get both those. So I had that happen. I got two scenarios that happened recently. I have one that was, we have a client going through, they sold a business to a family member and was told we sold a piece of property, but in reality they sold the actual entity. Well, the manager came to me and said, hey, here's what's going on. I said, well, which is it? And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, well, now I'm thinking to myself, I should probably spend 5 minutes with them explaining the situation, what I think they need to be asking the client of, and then have them go to the client, get those questions asked. If they have more questions, they can come back to me. Or what I was going to do, which is the wrong answer, was, hey, let's email the client together, ask the client the question from me, not from the manager. Now I've made the manager not seem like they don't know what they're doing, and B, the next time the client has a question, they're probably going to come to me instead of the manager. That's the bad answer. The second situation happened, same thing on sales. Sales runs into this all the time. Is this client a fit or not a fit? Is this industry a client that we need to work with or not? And it's the same kind of scenario. It's they don't know what they don't know. And so in that case, I have to be able to take some of that monkey of explaining to them why that's not a great fit.
Yeah.
And let them, they'll go still decide and be able to work with the client. But at the same time, we're educating them, which is a lot different world of just saying, no, go figure it out. That's just understanding the boundaries of what those helps are.
I also think of it as I'm helping my team learn how to think, not what to think. I want them to be able to understand kind of the thought process behind this. Look, in my world, you've gone through training on that. You should know the answer to this based on your tenure here and the training and experience that you should have had at this point. And so I need you to go figure that out. And then I'm training them. Whenever they have an issue, I'm not just that first person they need to come to and they need to learn on their own. And that's going to teach them, these are the skill set that you need. We value in our firm highly. We value what I call figured attitude.
Yep.
Our employees' ability to go figure out issues that they're coming into is super important.
It is.
And so I want them to experience that a little bit. And what I always like to see, over time is they'd stop coming to me, and it's not because they're not getting answers. It's because they're either going to figure out themselves, or their first reaction is to go to a peer,
right?
Which is elevating the entire game of everybody, because now they've brought up this issue to their peer. Their peer may know the answer and can help with that, or the peer may not know the answer, and now we got a couple people that need to go figure something out.
Yep. Or we have to educate our peer how to keep the monkey off their back.
Sometimes.
Because that person who wants to hand the monkey to you, if you're not going to grab the monkey, they're going to try to give somebody else that monkey first. And so that is something that can happen. So it is important that you kind of explain to this idea of, hey, we want you to try to troubleshoot as much of the stuff as your own. It's okay to ask your team for help, but here's when you should be asking your team for help, and here's when you shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I find it's been my experience that hasn't been as much of a problem, because I don't know if there's a level of pride that comes into that. Hey, I don't feel like I need to go ask my coworker, my peer on the same level, because then it makes it look like they're superior to me, and that doesn't sit well with me. And so I don't see as much of that being an issue where they're handing that monkey off to their, whoever they're working with. Yep. It's more there's a tendency to hand it off to the person who above.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we did dig into the idea of, these are all interruptions, right? We're talking about interruptions in this process here. We talked about managing our time from a calendar standpoint. Where do you find your biggest hole when it comes to your time?
Right, follow-up time. This is where my good intentions always can fall flat. Is I try to do follow-up after every meeting with kind of a recap. For any of our clients that I'm having meetings with, my goal is to make that meeting burden as less as possible on them. And so I want to kind of give them a recap. This is action items or whatever it may be out of that for my team. Now, I'm not doing that. They need to go figure that out themselves. And so I can get lost in the follow-up of, all right, I got to write that email or send out that message. And then, oh, well, this pop-up happened over here. And so then I can just go down the trail of and all that ties back to, I don't like follow-up stuff. And you know this about me.
Yep.
I don't like that. And so whenever I have to do it, I like to find ways to not do it.
Yep.
And so that's always kind of the time suck for me.
Do you have that stuff kind of templated out in your world?
A little bit. Most of it is very specific to a
Every client
particular
has,
instance.
Yeah. We do have some structure around that. When we bring on clients, we want to have a conversation with them, but we also know it's a lot of stuff, and it's the idea of it. Here's a recap of what we talked about, just so they have a written, and it helps a lot for them to understand that. My other big time sink is really just getting distracted by stuff that's not important. And as a leader, I think that my time is really, I am most productive and most valuable here when I am in the position of thinking forward. When I am reacting to work that has to get done, or I am looking at something that's already happened, I'm not an effective leader.
Yeah.
The problem I have, though, is unless I put strategic time on my calendar, it is not going to happen.
Yeah.
It has to be very intentional. It has to be, and I do a lot of this on Saturday mornings. I do a lot of this at night. But the reality of it is if I could just get away and spend 2 days by myself, just thinking about the business, that those 2 days would probably produce,
Would be
100% improvement over what I've already done. Also, if I could just get in the spot of just observing more, not reacting, not doing, just observing, what are our staff working on? How are they doing the work? What do we got going on? I could see potential areas of improvement. If I go spend more time with other firms, if I could go spend time reading, those are things that are going to drive, what a wonderful investment those would be in my practice. Yeah. It's hard to do that and be in your business. So as a leader, it's what do you need to do? What hats do you need to be removing to get yourself more out of the in instead of on? I need to get more in the on, and that is something that I still struggle with. Ideally, I think the number is I should be spending 75% of my time on the business and 25% of the time in the business. I'm probably still flip-flopping that right now, and I'm in a position where I don't even have a lot of production work. The monotony of the minutia of a daily grind of a business does that. I find my firm is just as efficient when I'm out of it as when I'm in it. So I might as well be out of it trying to improve it.
Yeah, that's really good insight. I think that's super important for anybody that has a leadership role to think strategically, because it is going to pay dividends down the road. It's going to be a multiplying effect, and it's just difficult to do.
It's so hard.
If you don't plan that out, man, your day can get filled up with so many other things. Your weeks, your months can get filled up with so many other things, and you lose out on those opportunities. One of the things that there was a speaker I heard once who was talking about meetings and stuff like that, and he said everywhere you should go, you should have a notepad with you, not to make detailed notes, but every time you're having a conversation with somebody or you're in a meeting, your brain will always start to wander. And for leaders, a lot of times it'll wander into the idea space of, hey, you know what? I wonder what if this would be. And that's your notepad. You just write that down that way. And then later you can go back and have those ideas to kind of generate some deeper thinking of what that looks like.
The idea, when I'm in a conference, I actually usually draw a big T, a big cross on my notepad, and I have ideas, actions, notes, and follow-ups are my 4 quadrants. And the ideas I keep on those notes, and I'm like, God, these are really good ideas, but I never really do much with them. I need to do a better job. I say that's not true. I do a lot with those ideas, but there's still more that can be done. And usually that's why we come back and I ruffle a bunch of feathers, throw a bunch of wrenches on people's stuff. And I'm like, God, stop going to conferences. And luckily COVID prevented that, so it's good. But that's the reality of it, right? So as leaders, it's important that you understand what your role is supposed to be versus what it is, and then where your time should be being spent and where you're wasting it. Like, make your time intentional.
Absolutely. And you got to be able to draw the line to say, this is what I'm going to spend my time on, and this is what I'm not going to spend my time on. And hold to that, and hold your team to that, because those pop-in interruptions, hey, I just need 5 minutes of your time, or you got a quick second, I have a question. All of that can just really start taking you down the rabbit trail. And so, good conversation. Time is, time sucks, and where we spend time is always a super helpful thing to think about on an ongoing basis. We do have one question from last week that I thought was actually a really good question that we want to talk through a little bit. The question that came in, so last week we were talking about hiring and how we do that, processes and whatnot. One of the questions that came in is, if I have two good candidates that I really like, how do I choose between those two people?
I would first say, if you can all do it, if you have two great candidates, hire them both. Yeah. And that is because you never know if one doesn't work out. And if you have two candidates for only one role even, you will may be able to find that each of them has a skill set that's different than the others. If you come down, though, to one person and you only can really afford one person, I would say don't think about where they are now, but think about where they could be in the future and try to hire for the person who has the largest upside. That'd be my opinion.
Yeah, largest upside would be good. I would agree with you, though, especially in today's job market where good people are just really hard to find. If you have really two strong candidates and you can't afford to hire them both and figure out the rest after that point, I would go that route. But yeah, if you absolutely can't, flip a coin. No, I'm just kidding. Who does have the most upside? Who's going to be a better long-term fit? And ultimately, you just have to make a decision to move on.
That's a hard one, though. We've had it happen over the years, and we have traditionally tried to hire both when that came up. We've actually put out offers for one person, then had the other person interview for the job, apply for the job. I'm like, this is the person we probably should still talk to. Goes the same process with them, we hired this person. And I would say, I don't think we've been burned on that ever. Good people are hard to find, and if they're good culture fits and they're technically really smart people and they're hungry, humble, and smart, then we'll find a good spot for them on a team.
And they're going to ultimately, in our world, they'll pay for themselves at some point.
Correct.
Pretty quickly.
The reality of it is I can't hire enough people in production roles today. So if I ever run into a possibility where I have more than one candidate, I'm always going to hire. That's
an exciting time around here.
Yeah, I want to hire as many people as I can that are quality. We hire good people, but
absolutely,
that is always a challenge. And that's it. All roles, sales, admin, same thing. We just hired two admin, same thing. We did the same process. We had one role, and we decided to hire two people. We had two good candidates, and we decided that they each had a little different fit.
I'm going to flip the conversation or the question around a little bit and answer something that wasn't asked, and that is if you're down to the wire and you have two candidates, neither of which you're excited for, but you have a role to fill. What do you do there?
You should hire neither if they're not ideal fits. That should be the answer. The reality of it is not the truth. What happens, you hire the best fit you can. That usually doesn't work out real well for you.
Yeah. That's what I would say. Don't do it at all.
Yeah. The problem is, I'm an eternal optimist, so I always think, well, that person, I think they could do this. And
what did I miss about this person that they really are great?
Correct. And you try to talk yourself into it, and you bring them like, that was a mistake. Now you have the whole problem of either coach them up or coach them out.
Yeah,
and it's really hard.
We do have stories about that not working out as well.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's I desperately need somebody today.
I need a body.
And this is where hiring come into it, right? It's the idea that we always should be recruiting so that we don't have this problem come up.
Yeah.
But if we are not like in love with either one, we really should walk away. It's like saying, I have this lady who I want to marry and she's okay.
Yeah.
But we'll marry her, see what happens.
I think she'll do for the first couple of years.
It's not a good answer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, good times, man. I really appreciate it. If you're out there listening, thank you very much. We really do enjoy you guys taking time out of your day to listen to us ramble on about all kinds of fun stuff. If you have any questions for us, please send them in to onestepbetter@patrickaccounting.com. You can also leave comments wherever you're listening to us on Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever it is, YouTube, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great day.